What is up, guys? Welcome back to yet another video, and in today's video, as you may have already been imagining from the thumbnail, I'm gonna be talking about a few essential apps that I would highly recommend someone to get for an iPad as a musician. So in these times, with this whole COVID thing and of course this whole electronic era where we have to try to modernize a little bit, a whole bunch of gigs are starting to turn into paperless gigs. So rather than having to take your papers, just having everything on a single tablet is kind of something really helpful. And besides that, this is something that we can use as a tool and for us musicians and for any creative alike, but particularly talking about musicians, this is something that we can use for so many reasons. And I'm going to talk about a few apps that I use on the daily dose of everything that I do, which is teach and then plan out my music videos, like this one for example, and just everything most of the time, instead of coming to work into the computer, I'm gonna work on the iPad first and then go into the heavy editing or whatever else I have to do on the computer. So let's start with a few apps that I highly recommend. I'm gonna open this here. So we're supposed to now be on my iPad, and I'm gonna show you guys a few apps that I highly recommend for us musicians. And not only musicians, I'm gonna add a few other apps that I really recommend for any other creative or any other person that's getting into this whole YouTube thing and this whole thing where you have to kind of do some things yourself. So let's start with the apps for musicians that I really recommend. So as you can see here, there's 4 of my favorites. I have more on my phone, but these are the ones that I essentially use on my iPad for music related stuff. Let's start with the first one here, which is iReal Pro. This is essentially a walking real book for you. So some of them have different sorts of chord progressions, like for example, there's a few chords here that you're not maybe gonna see on the 6th edition of the real book, but essentially you're gonna find the real book and every other piece. And if you don't like something, you can quickly edit it, which is something that's really nice. If you click here, you can edit it and change whatever chord you want to change. And not only that, you can change the BPM, which is great for practicing faster stuff at a slower pace. You can add how many repeats you want. You can even change the tonality. You can transpose it in the moment, in real time, which is something that's really cool. Something that I enjoy a lot about this app. And you can write whatever chart you want to write. So if you are working with this artist and you have to make your own sheet music, it's a really nice thing to have. Like, you can actually use this app and it's gonna help you a lot with that. And if the singer one night doesn't have their singing voice ready for the key that they usually sing it in, and they ask you to kind of change the key, you can also do it here in the moment, as you already saw here on the screen. So I highly recommend that. It comes around $15, but I could say that it is highly worth the price. So the next app here that you're gonna see is Pro Metronome. This is my favorite metronome for practice. You can swap it to this position. I have the premium version because with the premium version you can kind of have different polyrhythms. You can have different different subdivisions that you usually don't have. Which, let me just restore quickly, and I restored it. I have the Pro version again. I had forgotten to do that. So yeah, you basically have so much more, and you have the practice mode where you can target a tempo. You can do it by time and with an altimeter, and just it's a great metronome to have to practice. And having it on an iPad is kind of helpful because if you're like me, I don't really have many social apps here on my iPad. I only have work-related stuff and maybe 1 or 2 games if I have anything else to that I need the iPad for. But I just most of the time use my iPad for work stuff. So let's continue on to the other one. This one is called Solo, and it's by Tom Coyle and David Beebe. And this is one of my favorite apps that's out there right now. This one is really more for advanced players and intermediate to advanced guitar players or musicians alike. You can select the level and what you want to do. Of course, if I mean, if you're a beginner that's kind of starting to advance into that intermediate phase, and you already know your intervals and what intervallic functions are, you can really get this app, and it's gonna take your level from beginner to pro in no time, you know, with the due practice and whatnot. So you can practice so many things here. You can practice changes, and you know, you can use different standards, you can use different exercises, minor 251s, major 251s, different sorts of progressions that they give you here. You can, you know, do all sorts of things, and then you can use whatever level you want, and it's gonna put a certain intervallic function, and then you're gonna have to play that intervallic function in the way that it says so. And what's cool is that you have to kind of you know, work on the note detection sensitivity, and it's gonna adjust to what you're playing, so it's always gonna get what notes you're playing. So yeah, you can also change the instruments. As you can see here, you have 6-string, 7-string guitar, 4-string bass, 5-string bass, B flat horn, E flat horn, concert pitch. You know, it has all these sorts of things, and it also has a tutorials. So if you know, don't understand this app, you can, you know, get into this section, and it's gonna have so many cool things. So if you don't know what intervallic functions are, for example, you can go into the intervallic functions section, and you're gonna
so let's consider the major scale. We're gonna
David Beebe here talking about it. So that's pretty cool, and you know, it kind of swaps between David and Tom. And it's, you know, it's something that's really cool. I think that in particularly just gives it such a great touch. And I mean, as a guitar teacher myself, I highly enjoy you know, seeing this here on, you know, on this platform, and having it this way and in this structure. I think it's brilliant what they came up with, and I really highly recommend it. And to my more advanced students, I highly recommend this app. It's one of the best apps that's, you know, out there for musicians. And then lastly, on this tab, I have the forScore app, which is a great little handy tool to have. As you can see, this is kind of a lead sheet that I did for a piece that I kind of had to do, and then here's some, you know, other section that I've been writing, and you know, I did this myself, writing it here, and it has many different sections. I may do a video talking about this app later on, because it's a little bit more complex than the other ones, and it's, you know, it has a whole bunch of different sections, and it just, you know, has so many things here that it's really kind of overwhelming, I may say. That app is kind of you know, harder to use, but it is really helpful as well. Then let's go to this other app that I use, which is called Padlet. Padlet is a great app. I have the free version, I haven't upgraded it, and you know, I just really need this one because I have this classes section where, you know, I kind of write down every class, and it's like a class log. I have all of my students there, and I have everything that I do with my students, so it's a cool way to have everything organized. So yeah, that's kind of the apps that wraps it up with this whole music thing, and teaching, and just, you know, practicing and whatnot. These apps have made me a better guitarist and a better teacher. I highly recommend these. And then I'm gonna talk a bit about a few other ones that I use almost on the daily dosage of my content creating journey and my teaching journey and whatnot. So these are a few ones that I use a lot and way much more than I should, because I mean, for those of you that don't know, when I'm not you know, doing anything music related, I'm usually out taking photos, and I'm starting to get gigs as a photographer and filmmaker. And these are a few apps that I've been using for that, and also with my band. Like for example, in the Adobe Draw app, I've drawn a few different things, which are, you know, ideas for different band stuff, and I've drawn different arts there, and then I take them to Adobe Fresco, and then I finish it off there. I also use Lightroom on the daily, you know, to edit my photos, everything that I post on social media, I edit it there. I have yet to use Photoshop here on the iPad, as I've been, you know, using it on the computer. I still don't understand it completely in the iPad, because I'm starting to use Photoshop. So yeah, but those are 4 apps that I use quite a lot. And then one of my favorite apps is called Canva. You can basically just do anything here. I do every single thumbnail here, and you know, it's just a great app. If you don't know what Canva is basically a service that kind of makes it easy for you to, you know, make different posts and make different announcements. Every announcement that I've, you know, made for, you know, when I'm offering guitar classes and whatnot, I've made it there. Every thumbnail I've edited there, and just it works really good, and I highly recommend it. And I mean, I would finish off with that because I mean every other app is basically just like YouTube Studio and then Word, Excel, you know, and some different apps that I use on the daily. But those are basically my favorite apps, and I really hope you guys enjoyed it. These are kind of a few apps that I've been using as a content creator and musician here on my iPad Pro. And I highly recommend them for any iPad or any tablet whatsoever. They are going to help your productivity. They're going to help you with this whole journey of what content creating is nowadays, and of this whole journey of what being a musician in 2021 is actually. So I highly recommend those. Though we made it to the end of this video, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like down below, drop a subscribe down below if you want to support me on this journey. And if you have any of these apps, you can share your experience down below. I would love to read what your experiences with these apps have been, and any other app that you guys recommend to other creators alike. You know, they're more than welcome here on the comment section. So yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys on the next one.